My dear friend, before I tell you anything else, let me first talk to you like a grandmother who cares. If you love stories that touch the heart and open the eyes, stories that make you think twice before trusting the wrong people, then please make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on your notifications. I share stories that help you protect your heart, your money, and your future. Also, go to the comments and tell me where you are watching from in this big country. I want to know which part of America my friends are listening from today. Now let me begin. My name is Leona Mee Cartwright, and I am 82 years old. I was born on a quiet ranch road outside a little town in Kansas, back when neighbors still shouted hello across the fence and children respected their parents. I worked hard all my life, raised 2 children, and did everything a mother was supposed to do. I saved every bit of money that I could. I kept my home clean. I kept my promises. I loved with my whole heart. But none of that protected me from what happened. I am speaking to you from my small living room in a retirement community in Missouri, where the hallways smell like coffee in the morning and old newspapers in the afternoon. The kind of place where people ride small electric carts because their knees are not what they used to be. If you were sitting here across from me right now, you would see my shaking hands and the way my voice sometimes cracks. Not because I am weak. No, because I am tired of pretending that I am not hurt. My dear friend, imagine waking up one morning and discovering that your own child, the same child you held as a baby, the same child you fed and protected, had looked at you in your old age and called you stupid. Imagine hearing that word from the lips of the person you trusted most. Would it break you the way it broke me? Let me take you to the moment everything changed. It happened on a Wednesday morning. I remember because I always bake cornbread on Wednesdays. The sun was shining through my kitchen window, landing right on the old wooden table that had been in my family for years. I was wearing my faded blue house dress and my soft slippers. My husband Henry had passed years ago, but that morning I felt him close. I felt his presence like he was standing behind me saying, "Leona, everything will be all right." But everything was not all right. My son Corinth, yes, that is his name. Not a common name, I know. I gave him that name because when he was born, I wanted him to grow into something strong and wise. But wisdom does not come from a name, my friend. Wisdom comes from the heart, and my son's heart had grown cold without me even noticing. He walked into my house with a cold look in his eyes. No hug, no smile. He stood in the doorway, shoulders stiff, jaw tight, and I asked him what was wrong. I asked because that is what mothers do. We worry even when we are sick ourselves. We give even when our hands are shaking. Then he said it. "You are stupid. You are too old to make your own decisions. I already talked to the lawyer. Everything is in my name now." Just like that, not even a blink of remorse, not even a tremble of guilt. He had transferred my house, my savings, and even the small ranch land I inherited from my father. All of it. Moved into his name without my understanding what he was doing. And then he gave it all to his wife. A woman I tried so hard to welcome into the family. A woman who never called me mom, only Leona, as if my name was a wall she refused to climb over. My dear friend, do you know what it feels like to stand in your own home and suddenly realize you do not own a thing inside it, not the walls, not the floor beneath your feet, not even the kitchen chair you sit on? Let me ask you something. If it were you standing there, if your own child looked you in the eyes at your old age and stripped your whole life away with one signature, what would you do? Would you scream? Would you cry? Would you collapse? Would you fight? I stood frozen. I felt the room tilt slightly like the world was shifting under me. I held onto the edge of the counter so I would not faint. My heart was beating too fast for my age. My chest felt tight. My son kept talking, but the words were drowning in the sound of my own heartbeat. I could not believe what I was hearing. Then he said something that cut deeper than anything else. "Mom, people your age do not need property. You do not even know what you are doing anymore. My dear friend, when someone you love questions your mind, it cuts worse than any knife. It kills a part of your spirit. It makes you feel like a ghost drifting in your own home. I looked at him, really looked, and I realized I did not recognize the man standing in front of me. His eyes were hard. His face was cold. There was no trace of the little boy who used to run barefoot across the fields calling Mama, wait for me. Who was this man, and what had I done to deserve this cruelty? I wanted to speak. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to scream that I am still capable, still aware, still human. But nothing came out. My voice was trapped behind years of loving him, years of believing he would always protect me like I protected him. And then he walked away, just like that, as if he had finished a business meeting. I could hear the door slam. The sound echoed through the house like thunder. I sank into my chair and stared at the cornbread batter on the counter. My hands were shaking too hard to even hold the spoon. In that moment, I asked myself a question that no mother should ever have to ask. How did it come to this? My dear friend, you may think that is the end of the story, but it is only the beginning. Because in life, pain has a way of revealing hidden truths. In that moment of heartbreak, I realized something no one had ever taught me. When you become old, people either cherish you or try to control you. And sometimes, the very people who should cherish you end up being the ones who hurt you most. I wiped my tears that morning. I stood up slowly, and I whispered to myself, "This is not over." But what happened next will shock you even more. It is the reason I am telling this story, the reason I want you to listen with open ears and open heart. The next chapter of my life is where the real betrayal begins, and where the truth about my son and his wife finally comes to the light. When my son Corinth slammed my front door that Wednesday morning, it was not just wood meeting wood. It felt like my whole past shut in my face. I stood there leaning on the counter, listening to the slow ticking of the kitchen clock. Each click sounded like a reminder that time had moved on, a reminder that the boy I raised was gone. My knees were weak, and I had to sit down. I put my hands together and tried to steady my breath. My heart felt heavy, like someone was sitting on my chest. I kept asking myself the same question. How did my own child become the kind of man who could betray his mother like this? I want to ask you again, my dear friend. If someone you love takes advantage of you while you are still alive, does that love still exist, or was it gone long ago without you noticing? Think about that. As I sat there trying to understand what had happened, my eyes landed on a picture on my kitchen wall. It was a framed photo of Corinth when he was a boy. He was about 6 years old, standing with his little boots in the mud behind our old Kansas farmhouse. His cheeks were round, his hair messy, and he had a smile as wide as the summer sky. I used to call him my sunshine boy. He used to follow me everywhere, even into the garden when I watered the tomatoes. He would say, "Mama, I want to help," and I would laugh and let him hold the small watering can. But that morning, staring at that photo, I felt like I was looking at a stranger, because the man who left my house just minutes before was not that little boy. He was someone else entirely. I closed my eyes and let my memories pull me back in time. Corinth was always different from other children. Not in a bad way, at least not at first. He was quiet, always thinking, always watching. While other boys played rough, he preferred to stay inside and take things apart. Radios, clocks, toys, anything with screws. He wanted to know how everything worked. I used to say he was born curious. But as he grew older, his quiet nature turned into something colder. He wanted control. He wanted things done his way, and when he did not get what he wanted, he shut people out. Still, I believed it was just growing pains. Mothers always think their children will change for the better. We always think time will soften them. But sometimes time sharpens the wrong things. I remember one moment clearly. I was in my late 50s then. Corinth had just gotten married to a woman named Marcy, a woman with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. She walked into my home like she owned the place, even on her first visit. I told myself she was nervous. I told myself maybe she would warm up to me, but she never did. There was one evening when Corinth and Marcy came over for dinner. I had set the table with my best dishes. I cooked roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans just the way Corinth liked them. But the whole night, Marcy did not smile once. She kept whispering in Corinth's ear. Every time she whispered, he nodded. Every time she nodded, he pulled away from me just a little more. I should have seen the warning signs, but love blinds us. It blinds us worse than the sun on a snow day. It blinds us until the truth walks right up and hits us in the face. Back to the present. I sat in my kitchen, staring at that old photo, replaying all the small moments I had ignored, every red flag I had brushed off, every comment Marcy had made about me being old-fashioned, about me not understanding money, about me living in the past. Maybe all of this was planned long before I realized it. Maybe I was the last one to know I was being pushed out of my own life. My dear friend, sometimes the people who smile at you are the same people who are quietly pulling the rug from under your feet. After sitting there for nearly an hour, I decided I needed answers. Answers about what my son had done. Answers about what he had signed. Answers about whether I still had anything left in my name at all. I grabbed my purse, put on my coat, and walked out of the house slowly, holding onto the railing because my bones are not as strong as they used to be. But I was determined. I drove to the law office in town. The sky was gray, like even the clouds knew I was hurting. I parked my old car right next to the building. My hands were shaking so badly that I could barely turn off the ignition. When I walked inside, the receptionist looked at me with that polite smile that people give older women when they think they know our whole story just by looking at our wrinkles. I told her my name. I told her I needed to see Mr. Larkin, the attorney who had helped me with paperwork in the past. She nodded and told me to wait. While I waited, I sat in a chair that felt too firm for my fragile back. The lights above me buzzed softly. I could hear the sound of a printer in the back room. My heart beat faster with each passing second. Then Mr. Larkin came out. He looked surprised to see me. "Leona," he said, "I thought you were taking the day off from all this paperwork." That sentence made my stomach twist. I never told him any such thing. Mr. Larkin led me to his office. When we sat down, I whispered the words I feared most. Did my son sign anything that removed my name from my assets? He paused, his eyes shifted. And my dear friend, you should know that when lawyers pause, something is wrong. Something is very wrong. He opened a folder on his desk. My name was on the front. He turned the pages slowly. My chest tightened with each turn. Then he looked up at me with a heavy, guilty expression. "Leona, everything has been transferred." The world seemed to fade. His voice became distant. He kept talking, explaining things I could barely hear. Something about power of attorney. Something about signatures. Something about decisions made on my behalf. Something about consent forms that I supposedly agreed to. I felt dizzy. I grabbed the sides of my chair to keep myself from falling. My dear friend, imagine hearing that your life was signed away while you were still alive. Imagine hearing that someone decided you were too old to think for yourself. Imagine learning that all of it was done by your own flesh and blood. But then Mr. Larkin said one more thing, something that made my heart stop. Your son did not come alone. His wife was with him, and she was the one who insisted everything be transferred quickly. I stared at him, my ears rang. My head felt light, everything inside me screamed. This was no accident, this was a plan. But here is where the real shock comes. Mr. Larkin lowered his voice and said something that made my blood run cold. There is something else you need to know, something your son did not tell you. I leaned forward. What is it? He opened another folder, a different one with papers I had never seen, and when he turned it around so I could read it, I felt my heart drop into my stomach. My dear friend, what I saw on that paper changed everything. It unlocked a truth I never expected. It revealed a secret that had been hidden from me for years. And that secret is where everything begins to unravel. I sat in that cold law office, my hands trembling on my lap, waiting for Mr. Larkin to explain what he meant. The room felt smaller than before. The walls seemed to lean in. The sound of passing cars outside grew faint. All I could hear was the heavy thumping of my own heart, like it was trying to warn me of something terrible. Mr. Larkin slid the folder across his desk and gently tapped the top page. His voice dropped low, almost too low for my tired ears to hear. Leona, your son has filed paperwork stating that you are mentally unfit to handle your own affairs. I did not understand at first. I blinked. I stared at the words on the page, not believing they could be real. Mentally unfit. Those words cut deeper than any insult my son had ever spoken. Those two words could erase a lifetime of wisdom, strength, and independence. They could erase the woman I had been for 82 years. I whispered, "What does that mean?" Mr. Larkin sighed. "It means he claimed you cannot make decisions for yourself anymore. It gives him full control over your property and finances." A chill crawled across my skin. My dear friend, imagine someone taking your voice without your permission. Imagine someone deciding you are no longer capable of thinking. It is worse than theft. It is erasing your dignity. I shook my head slowly, but I never agreed to that. I never signed anything like that. Mr. Larkin looked at me with deep sadness in his eyes. "Your signature is on the form." My heart jumped. I grabbed the paper and stared at the bottom. There it was, my name, written in the smooth handwriting that looked exactly like mine. But I had never touched that paper. I had never seen it, not once. I leaned back as the truth struck me so hard it felt like a physical blow. Someone had forged my signature. My voice trembled as I asked, "Who brought this to you?" Mr. Larkin hesitated. "Your son brought it. His wife was with him. She handed me the paper personally. She said it was an urgent matter." In that moment, something inside me shifted. A curtain lifted. A fog cleared. I realized that the betrayal ran deeper than I could have imagined. I had always suspected Marcy never liked me, but this was not dislike. This was something darker, something cold and calculated. "Why would they do this?" I whispered. Mr. Larkin lowered his gaze. "I'm not sure you are ready to hear everything, Leona." I straightened my back. My age may slow my body, but it has never weakened my will. "Tell me, please." He opened the folder again and pulled out a different document. My eyes were drawn to the heading at the top. It said Estate Transfer Agreement. The moment I saw it, my stomach twisted. Mr. Larkin explained, "This form is usually signed when someone is preparing their estate for end-of-life arrangements." End of life. I felt like the floor dropped from under me. My dear friend, imagine reading a paper that treats you like you are already gone. I forced my trembling eyes to read further. There were lines filled with numbers and legal words, but one line stood out clear as day, a line that made my breath catch in my throat. It stated that all my assets would go directly to Corinth and then immediately to Marcy in the event of my passing. Not a word about my granddaughter, not a word about anyone else, just them. Mr. Larkin tapped the page again. "This means they intended to secure everything before you even understood what was happening." I stared at the paper, My eyes blurred with tears. My throat tightened. My heart felt like it was being squeezed. All those years I had helped Corinth, all the holidays I cooked, all the babysitting, all the late-night phone calls when he needed something, all the times I put him first. And this was how he repaid me. I whispered, "It cannot be real. It cannot." Mr. Larkin leaned forward gently. "There is more. Something you did not know. Something Corinth tried to hide." I felt my breath hitch. I gripped the arms of the chair. He pulled out another document. This one was older, and as soon as I saw the date, my heart froze. This document was signed 3 years ago. 3 years, long before that Wednesday morning. Long before Corinth looked me in the eyes and called me stupid. Long before Marcy pretended to welcome me into her home on Thanksgiving. They had been planning this. Not for days, not for weeks. For years. My dear friend, imagine realizing that the betrayal you felt yesterday was actually planted long before you ever suspected a thing. I swallowed hard, but why would my own son do this to me? Mr. Larkin paused again. His voice softened. "I need you to stay calm when I tell you this." I nodded, though my whole body trembled. He continued, 3 years ago, your son took out a large loan, a very large one, and he used your property as collateral." My heart stopped. Collateral? My home, my ranch land, my savings, all used in a loan I never knew existed. I felt the room spin. I felt my chest tighten. I felt like everything inside me was collapsing. "They put my name on a loan I never agreed to," I whispered. Mr. Larkin nodded slowly. "Yes, and now they are afraid you will find out. If you found out, they would be in serious trouble. That is why they moved everything out of your name. They want to protect themselves, not you." My dear friend, I cannot describe the pain I felt. Betrayal is not a single cut. It is 1,000 little cuts that bleed at the same time. My son had not just taken my property. He had risked my entire life for his mistakes, for his debt, for his greed. I wiped my tears and stood up slowly, my legs shaking. I looked at Mr. Larkin with tired eyes. What am I supposed to do? He hesitated again. Then he said something that chilled me more than anything else. "There is one more document you have not seen yet. A document that reveals the real reason your son is trying to take everything before it is too late." I stared at him, barely breathing. "What reason?" He slid the final paper in front of me. And when I read the first sentence, my mouth fell open. The secret behind Corinth's betrayal was far worse than money, far worse than power, far worse than anything I had suspected. What I saw on that paper changed the entire direction of my life. When Mr. Larkin slid that final paper across his desk, my fingers trembled before they even touched it. The room felt colder. The lights above me seemed too bright, almost harsh. I blinked, trying to steady my breath, trying to prepare myself for whatever truth had been hidden from me, but nothing could have prepared me for what I saw. The first line read, "Collection, notice regarding unpaid medical debt belonging to Corinth." Medical debt. My son had never told me he was sick. He had never mentioned a doctor, a hospital, a treatment plan. Nothing. But as I kept reading, a slow chill crept down my spine. It was not just medical debt. It was the reason behind it. The document explained that Corinth had been treated multiple times at a clinic in another state. Not in Missouri, where I lived. Not even in Kansas, where he grew up. But in Colorado. A place he had never mentioned visiting. A place he had no business traveling to, as far as I knew. At first, I thought maybe he had been injured. Maybe he had been hiding some illness from me. But when I saw the words Substance Treatment Center printed in bold letters, my breath caught in my throat. My son, My only son. The same boy whose hands once held mine as we crossed the street. The same boy who used to fall asleep with his head on my lap. The same boy I once rocked to sleep during thunderstorms. He had been battling something far bigger than I ever imagined. Something he hid from everyone. Something he hid so deeply that I had to find out through a legal document instead of his own voice. I leaned back, gripping the armrests of the chair as if the truth might knock me over. Mr. Larkin watched me closely, his expression full of sympathy. I whispered, "What kind of treatment center is this?" He hesitated before answering. "Addiction Recovery, Leona." The words echoed in my mind like bells ringing in an empty church. Addiction. My son. The boy I raised with hope and prayer. The boy who once vowed he would never let anything control him. The boy who used to scold his friends for drinking too much. How had he fallen into such darkness without me seeing any signs? Mr. Larkin continued, "Corinth has been in and out of treatment for over 3 years. His wife is aware. She has been the one contacting the clinic." I swallowed hard. 3 years. 3 years of watching him grow distant. 3 years of coldness. 3 years of unexplained anger. 3 years of lies, and I had never connected any of it. I blamed myself instantly. How could I have missed something so serious, I asked myself again and again. How could a mother not recognize her own child's suffering? But before I could get lost in that guilt, Mr. Larkin continued speaking, and what he said next felt like a punch to my stomach. "The debt is enormous, Leona, and the clinic warned them that if another payment was missed, they would begin pursuing legal action. Corinth and his wife are trying to protect themselves." Protect themselves? Not me. Not the woman who brought him into this world. Not the woman who worked 2 jobs to give him everything. Not the woman who spent her whole life making sure he had a future. No, they were only protecting their own interests. I whispered brokenly, "So they used my property to pay off his treatment." Mr. Larkin nodded slowly. "Yes, and when the debt grew too large, they panicked. They decided to transfer everything into their own names so you could not take legal action against them." My tears fell silently. I did not sob. I did not scream. I just cried in that quiet, lonely way older people cry when they are too tired to fight their own pain. My dear friend, growing old teaches you that some heartbreaks do not need volume. They hurt quietly, deeply, quietly, all the way inside your chest. I stared at the paper again, reading every cold line of text. The dates, the signed forms, the forged signature. Every detail confirmed the same truth. My own son had chosen to sacrifice me to save himself. I whispered, "Why did he not just tell me if he needed help? I would have helped him. I would have done anything." Mr. Larkin lowered his voice. "Addiction changes people, Leona. It makes them desperate. It makes them lie to the people they love most." I nodded slowly. I knew he was right, but it still did not make the betrayal easier to swallow. As I sat there, a memory flashed in my mind. A memory I had pushed away for years. One night, Corinth had come to my house late, very late. His eyes were red. His hands shook. He hugged me longer than usual. I asked him if something was wrong. He said no. He said he was just tired. But when he left, I noticed something unusual in the trash can outside. A crumpled receipt from a bar, a place he never visited before. I brushed it off. I told myself everyone has bad days. I told myself not to worry too much. Looking back now, that might have been the beginning. My dear friend, sometimes the signs are there, but love makes us blind. We see our children not as who they truly are, but as who they used to be. And that is how we get hurt. After a long silence, I finally asked Mr. Larkin the hardest question. "Is there anything I can do to protect myself?" He sighed, and I knew before he spoke that the answer would not be simple. "There might be, but it will not be easy, and it will not be quick. You will need to act fast. I straightened my back. I may be 82, but my spirit has carried storms stronger than this. I wiped my tears. I looked him in the eyes. Tell me what I need to do. He paused, studying me as if trying to measure my strength. Then he said in a careful voice, You will need evidence. You will need witnesses. You will need to prove that the power of attorney was forged. And you will need to uncover the full truth about why your son hid his addiction from you. I felt my breath shake. And he added one more thing, something that sent a strange, cold shiver through my bones. There is something else Corinth has been hiding, something bigger than the debt, something bigger than the forged documents, and if you do not uncover it soon, everything you have left might vanish. My heart pounded. What else is he hiding? I asked. Mr. Larkin looked away for a moment, then back at me. I do not have all the details yet, but I do know this. Your son is involved in something that puts more than your property at risk. I felt my fingers curl against my palm. Something like what I whispered. He looked at me with a seriousness that made my stomach tighten. You are not just fighting for your home, Leona. You are fighting for your life. My dear friend, before I take you further into this painful road, please remember to like this story, subscribe for more, and tell me in the comments which part of the country you are watching from. Every time you support this story, you help someone out there who may be living a similar nightmare. When Mr. Larkin told me that I was not only fighting for my home, but also for my life, the room felt like it tilted. I gripped the armrests again, trying to steady myself. I looked into his eyes, searching for some sign that maybe he was being dramatic, maybe he was exaggerating, maybe I had misunderstood him. But no. His face was serious, steady, and full of a kind of quiet fear that I could not ignore. I whispered, What do you mean I am in danger? He glanced at his office door to make sure no one was listening, then leaned closer. Your son owes money to people he should have never been involved with. My heart thumped so loudly, I could hear it in my ears. People he means people like who? Mr. Larkin hesitated, choosing his words carefully. Leona, when someone falls deeply into addiction, it is not just the drugs that destroy their life. It is the people who supply them, the people who expect payment, the people who do not care who gets hurt. A cold shiver crawled up my back. My fingers tightened. Are you saying my son owes money to dangerous people? Mr. Larkin nodded slowly. Yes. And from what I have gathered, the debt is large enough that he is desperate to pay it off without those people coming after him. I felt a sudden pressure in my chest, a sharp, squeezing fear I had never felt before. The kind of fear that comes only when you realize that someone you love has walked into darkness so deep, they might pull you down with them. I whispered, But what does that have to do with me? Why would they come after me? Because, Mr. Larkin said softly, your son told them you were his financial support. He told them that the property and money would eventually be his. They believed him. And now that the debt is overdue, they expect him to pay. Soon. My dear friend, imagine hearing that your own child used your name as a shield to protect himself. Imagine hearing that strangers believe you have money you do not even control anymore. Imagine knowing that someone out there might think you owe them something. I felt the air grow heavy around me. Mr. Larkin continued, And this is why your son rushed to transfer everything. He wanted to legally claim your home and assets before anyone else tried to take them. I inhaled sharply, so he is protecting himself from them, not from me. Exactly. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to process everything. Pain, confusion, anger, and heartbreak twisted inside my chest. I opened my eyes again and whispered, How long do I have before these people start looking for answers? Mr. Larkin leaned back. I am not sure. But based on what I have seen in other cases like this, it will not be long, which is why you need to act now, before they knock on your door." Those words chilled me to the bone. I imagined myself sitting alone in my small retirement community living room, the television quietly playing in the background, my knitting needles in my lap. And then I imagined someone pounding on my door, someone demanding money I did not have, someone who did not care that I was old, someone who did not care that I had already lost everything. A quiet tremble moved through my body. I asked Mr. Larkin, "What do I need to do? What is the first step?" "You need someone you can trust," he said firmly. "Someone who knows your situation, someone who can check on you, protect you, support you emotionally and legally. You cannot walk through this alone." But that was the problem, my dear friend. I had spent so many years trying not to be a burden to anyone that I had slowly isolated myself. My husband was gone. My daughter had passed years ago. My extended family lived far away, busy with their own lives. And Corinth was no longer someone I could trust. I whispered, "I have no one." Mr. Larkin shook his head. "There is always someone, Leona. Think, is there anyone from your past, anyone you were close to, anyone who cared for you once?" I thought hard. My mind searched through the lonely years, through old memories, through the people who had come and gone. Suddenly, a name appeared in my mind like a candle, lighting up a dark room. Judson Hale. A man I had known many years ago, a man from church, a widower, a quiet, thoughtful soul who always checked on me when my husband was ill. A man who always said, "Leona, you deserve someone who cares about you the way you care about others." He had moved away years ago. To Oklahoma, I think, or maybe New Mexico. It had been so long since I had last heard from him that I was not even sure he was still alive. But he was the only person I could think of. The only person who had ever shown me genuine kindness without wanting something in return. I looked at Mr. Larkin and said softly, "There might be someone." "Good," he said. "Find them, talk to them, do not wait." He stood and placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "And Leona, please be careful. Do not let anyone pressure you, not your son, not his wife, and not the people he owes. You must protect yourself every step of the way." I nodded weakly. When I walked out of the law office, the afternoon sun hit my face, warm and bright. But the warmth did not reach my heart. I stood on the sidewalk for a moment, holding my purse tightly, watching cars pass. People laughed and chatted as they walked by, living their lives so easily, unaware of the storm that had just wrapped itself around mine. I walked slowly to my car, each step heavy. I sat inside, closed the door, and rested my forehead on the steering wheel. I could feel the weight of everything pressing down on me. My son was an addict. He had forged my signature. He had taken my property. He had used my name for loans. And now, dangerous people believed I was part of his mess. I whispered to myself, how did I get here? How did my life come to this? But as the tears rolled down my cheeks, I suddenly remembered something. Something my husband Henry used to say. "Leona, you're stronger than you think." And in that moment, something inside me shifted. It was small, like a spark catching a dry leaf. But it was enough. Enough to remind me that I was not done yet. Enough to remind me that I had survived storms before. Enough to remind me that my story was not ending today. I lifted my head, wiped my tears, and whispered to myself, "I will fight. I will not let them take the rest of my life." But what I did not know, my dear friend, was that before I could even take my first step toward protecting myself, something unexpected was waiting for me at home. Something that would shake me all over again. When I left the law office that afternoon, my heart felt as heavy as wet cloth. The sun was beginning to sink, stretching long orange streaks across the sky. I drove home slowly, gripping the steering wheel tighter than usual. Every bump in the road made my hands shake a little more. I kept replaying Mr. Larkin's words, not just about my home, not just about the forged papers, but about the danger. The danger I never imagined would come near an old woman like me. I parked my car outside my house and sat there for a moment, staring at my front door. That small wooden door had always been a comfort to me, a symbol of safety, a symbol of home. But that evening, it felt different, like something was waiting behind it, something I was not ready to see. I opened the door slowly. My house was quiet, too quiet. Usually I could hear the gentle hum of my refrigerator or the ticking clock above the living room doorway. But everything felt still, like the air itself was holding its breath. My dear friend, you know how sometimes your heart knows something before your eyes see it? That was how I felt the moment I stepped inside. I walked in, hanging my purse on the hook by the door. I slid out of my shoes and slowly moved toward the living room. That was when I noticed something unusual, something that made my stomach twist. My television was on. Not the usual channel I watch either. Not the news. Not the cooking shows I love. No, it was on a blank blue screen, as if someone had turned it on and left it sitting there without choosing a channel. I froze. I never leave the television on, and I knew, with complete certainty, that I had turned it off before leaving that morning. I felt a tremble crawl up my spine. I took a cautious step into the room, scanning everything with slow, careful eyes. My furniture was in place, my curtains unmoved, my quilt still neatly folded on the couch, but the silence felt wrong, heavy, as if someone had been there. I whispered to myself, Leona, do not panic. You are just tired. You are imagining things. But then I saw something else. On my coffee table, right next to my old Bible, was a single sheet of paper. Not my mail, not an advertisement, not something I had left there. It was placed too neatly, too intentionally. I moved closer, my knees weak, my hands trembling. I picked up the paper, my breath caught in my chest. It was a handwritten note. A short one. 4 words. You need to talk. No name, no signature, just those 4 words written in rushed, uneven handwriting. For a moment, I stood there completely still. My mind raced. Who had been in my home who left that note? Why would someone come inside without me knowing? Then a chilling thought hit me. Was it Corinth? My son had a key. He had always had a spare key, ever since he was a teenager. He could have entered the house any time he wanted. But why would he leave a note instead of calling? Why not knock? Why not talk face to face? Something felt terribly wrong. This was not my son's handwriting. I looked again. The letters were sharp and messy. My son writes neatly, always has. Ever since grade school, his teachers praised him for his handwriting. This handwriting was not his. I felt another wave of fear wash over me. My mind ran in circles. Who else had a key? No one. Not since Henry died. Not since I changed the locks. Unless someone had made a copy. Unless someone had found a way inside. I walked through the house slowly, checking each room. The kitchen, the bedroom, the bathroom. The small office. Nothing was damaged. Nothing was broken. Nothing was taken. But someone had been there. When I returned to the living room, I sat down on the couch, the note trembling in my hands. I stared at it until my vision blurred with tears. I felt exposed, violated, unsafe, the very feeling an elderly woman dreads. My dear friend, I want you to imagine being 82 years old, living alone, and realizing someone had entered your home without your knowledge. Imagine the fear. Imagine the helplessness. Imagine the questions that fill your mind. Then suddenly, I heard something. A soft noise outside. Like footsteps. slow, deliberate, moving along the side of my house. My heart jumped. I stood up quickly, my hand gripping the arm of the couch for balance. I moved toward the window and gently pulled the curtain back just an inch. At first, I saw nothing, just the dimming sky and the shape of my front yard. Then I saw him, a figure standing near my porch. Tall, still, watching the house. My breath caught in my throat. He was not close enough to see his face clearly, but I could see the outline of him. Broad shoulders, a dark jacket, a stillness that did not feel natural. He was not my son. I knew that immediately. This person was someone else. Someone waiting. Someone watching. Just as I felt panic rise in my chest, the figure stepped back and disappeared into the shadows between my house and the neighbor's fence. Gone. But the fear remained. I closed the curtains slowly, my hand shaking violently now. I backed away from the window and sank into the couch. I hugged my arms around myself as if I could protect my heart from collapsing. My mind raced. Who was that man? Was he connected to Corinth's debt? Was he connected to the note? Was he one of the dangerous people Mr. Larkin warned me about? I looked at the paper again. You need to talk. Talk about what? Talk to who? Talk before what happens. My heart pounded against my ribs. I knew I could not stay there alone that night. I knew I had to call someone, anyone, but I had no one. Then, like a gentle whisper inside my mind, I remembered the name I had thought of earlier. Judson Hale. The only person I believed might still care enough to listen. The only person I could imagine turning to. The only person who had ever shown kindness without asking for something in return. My dear friend, I made a decision that night, one that would change everything. That night, after seeing the figure outside my window and holding that note that chilled my bones, I sat on the couch with my heart beating like a frightened bird. The house felt too quiet, too dark, too unsafe. My own home, the place where I had rocked Bobbies to sleep and cooked warm meals, now felt like a stranger's place. The note sat on my lap. I kept reading those 4 words. You need to talk. But talk to who? Why me? What did they want? Fear is a heavy thing, my dear friend. It sits on your chest like a stone, but fear can also push you to reach for help in places you would never expect. I picked up my phone. My hands trembled so badly I almost dropped it. I scrolled through my contacts, most of which were old names of friends now gone, neighbors who had moved away, church members I had lost touch with. Then my thumb stopped. Judson Hale. My heart fluttered. I had not spoken to Judson in years, not since Henry's funeral. He was a gentle man, quiet, respectful, the kind of man who helps you fix a broken fence without asking for anything. He had been kind to Henry, too. They used to fish together on summer mornings. Judson was the kind of person who, if you called him at 3 a.m, would answer with his calm, deep voice and say, "What do you need, Leona?" I took a deep breath and clicked his name. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. I almost hung up. Then I heard his voice. "Hello, who is this?" For a second, I could not speak. My voice stuck in my throat like a pebble. "Hello, Judson. It is me. It is Leona." There was a silence on the line, and then a warm sigh. "Leona, my goodness. Are you all right? You do not sound like yourself." That was all it took. The tone of concern, the quiet gravity, the simple recognition of my name. I felt a tear fall down my cheek before I could stop it. "Judson, can you come over?" I whispered. "I think someone was in my house." He did not hesitate, not even for a breath. "I am on my way," he said. "Lock your doors. Stay away from the windows. Do not move around the house." The call ended. I stared at the phone, feeling a small, fragile piece of safety settle inside me. 15 minutes later, I heard a knock on my door. It was soft, careful, deliberate. "It is Judson. Open up, but only if you feel safe." I looked through the peephole. There he stood, wearing a flannel shirt, jeans, and a concerned look on his kind face. His truck was still running outside, its headlights beaming across my yard like silent guardians. I opened the door slowly. Judson stepped inside, and for the first time that day, I felt my breath ease a little. He smelled like fresh wood and cold night air. His presence filled the room with a quiet strength, the kind that warms you without saying a word. "Tell me everything," he said, taking a seat across from me. I handed him the note. He held it up, his brows furrowing. "Where did you find this?" "On my coffee table," I said, "and the television was on. I never leave it on. And then I saw someone outside. A man. He was just standing there, watching." Judson looked toward the window, his jaw tightening. "Did you call the police?" "No," I whispered. "I did not know what to tell them. I do not want to sound like a confused old woman." Judson leaned forward. "Leona, you are not confused. You know you're home. You know what feels wrong. Someone was here and they left this for a reason." He studied the handwriting again. "This looks like a warning," he said softly. "Not a threat, a warning." "A warning from who?" "From someone trying to help me. Or from someone trying to scare me." He set the note down gently. "Leona, has anyone been acting strange recently? Anyone asking you questions about your house, your land, your money?" I swallowed hard. "Yes, my son, Corinth." Judson's eyes lifted to mine. "Tell me everything," he said. So I did. I told him about the forged papers, the debt in my name, my house being transferred without my consent, the lawyer's warnings, the man who said Corinth owed money to dangerous people, and how Corinth had stopped speaking to me these last few days. Judson listened with the patience of a man who measures his words before speaking. When I finished, he took a deep breath. "Leona, I need to tell you something, and you may not like hearing it." I looked at him, my heart pounding. Judson continued. "Your son is in something deep, something bad. I have heard things about him around town, about the men he is dealing with, men who have no mercy. Men who would not think twice about using an elderly woman to get what they want." His words cut through me like cold wind. Judson lowered his voice even more. "And Leona, that man you saw outside tonight might not be the only one watching." A chill shot through me. Judson stood up and walked toward the window, lifting the curtain just enough to peer outside. Then he whispered, almost too quietly for me to hear. "Leona, someone is parked across the street, watching the house right now." My heart dropped. "Are you sure?" I whispered. Judson nodded. "Yes, and that is not an ordinary visitor. That is someone waiting for something, someone keeping an eye on you." I felt faint. My knees trembled. I grabbed the arm of the couch to steady myself. Judson stepped close to me and said, "Leona, you need to leave this house tonight. You cannot stay here, not alone. It is not safe. Leave. My home. At my age." I felt like my entire life was being pulled out from under me. "Where will I go?" I whispered. Judson took a deep breath. "You can stay at my place tonight. I have a spare room. I will keep watch. You will be safe there." My dear friend, I want you to imagine being 82 years old, being forced to leave your home in the dark of night because someone is watching you from across the street. Imagine the fear, the humiliation, the heartbreak. I nodded slowly. I trusted Judson. I trusted him more than I trusted my own son. But just as we were getting ready to leave, something happened. Something that made my blood turn cold. A loud knock on the door. 3 sharp hits. My whole body froze. Judson stepped in front of me, holding a protective stance. "Do not open the door," he whispered. Then we heard a voice from the other side. "Leona, it is me, open up." My son's voice. But something was wrong. His voice sounded fast, breathless, scared. Judson looked at me, his face filled with concern. "Leona, do not open that door yet. Something is not right." Judson and I stood frozen as the knocks echoed through my house again. 3 sharp hits against the wood. My son's voice followed, shaky and rushed. "Mama, please open the door. It is me, please." But something in his tone felt wrong. I had known this boy since the moment he opened his eyes in the hospital room more than 40 years ago. I knew his angry voice, his irritated voice, his fake polite voice, his desperate voice. But this voice was frightened. Deeply, truly frightened. Judson stepped closer to the door and listened without making a sound. He held one hand out, signaling me to stay behind him. Corinth spoke again from the other side. "Mama, please, they are coming. I need to talk to you. Please open the door." The moment he said those words, a chill swept through my whole body. They are coming. Who was he talking about? What danger was he bringing to my doorstep? Judson leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Leona, do not open that door yet. Ask him a question through the door. Ask something only he would know. Make sure it is really him." My hands shook as I called out, my voice cracking. "Corinth, if it is really you, tell me the name of the dog we had when you were 8. There was silence, a long, painful silence. Then, finally, "Marlowe, his name was Marlowe. I used to feed him the chicken scraps when you were not looking. Please, Mama, open the door. They are right behind me." I felt my heart sink. It was really him. But Judson did not move. "Not yet," he whispered. "Something is not right. His breathing, his tone. He is scared of something out there. Let me open the door and you stay behind me." I nodded slowly. Judson reached for the doorknob, unlocked the deadbolt, and opened the door just a small crack. What we saw made my knees give out. My son Corinth looked nothing like the sharp-dressed adult he pretended to be. His shirt was wrinkled and damp with sweat. His hair was messy. His eyes were wide and red, like he had been running or crying or both. His hands were shaking so violently he had to brace himself against the doorframe. When he saw me behind Judson, he whispered, "Mama, I messed up. I messed up so bad." Judson opened the door wider but held his arm out protectively in front of me. Corinth stepped inside quickly, shut the door, and locked it, pressing his forehead against the wood as if he was trying to hold the world out with his bare hands. Judson spoke quietly. "Corinth, what is going on? Who is following you?" Corinth turned around slowly, his chest rising and falling fast. "Mama, they want the house. They want everything. I cannot stop them. I cannot pay them back. They do not care who gets hurt." I swallowed hard, feeling weak. "Corinth, what did you do?" My son dropped to his knees in front of me. "Mama, I am so sorry. I never meant for it to get this far. I thought I could fix it before you found out. I thought I could make the money back. I never wanted to drag you into this." His tears hit the floor. Judson frowned deeply. "Who are they, Corinth? Who are these men?" Corinth's lips trembled as he whispered a name I had never heard. "They call themselves the Ridge Boys." The room fell silent. I had heard of groups like that on the news. Men who made money in the shadows. Men who did not care about laws or people or families. Men who took whatever they wanted from whoever they wanted. Judson's jaw tightened. Corinth, what do they want from your mother? Corinth trembled. Everything, her land, her savings, the house. They already have documents saying it belongs to them. They told me if I did not hand it over, they would come after her. Tonight. Right now. My stomach twisted in fear. Judson stepped forward. Corinth, did you bring them here? Corinth shook his head fast. No, I tried to lose them. I ran. I hid my car. I came through the woods. I think I got away, but... His voice faded as he looked toward the window. Judson followed his gaze. My dear friend, the moment Judson lifted the curtain and looked outside, his whole body stiffened. Then he said in a low voice, Leona, they are here. My heart nearly stopped. I moved toward the window beside him and looked out. A dark truck had parked across the street, the same truck I had seen hours earlier. But this time, another car pulled up behind it. Two men stepped out. One tall with a shaved head, one shorter with a heavy jacket. They stood in silence, looking directly at my house. No smiles, no talking, just watching, waiting. Corinth let out a broken sob. Mama, please forgive me. I brought this danger to your door. I am so sorry. I did not know what else to do. I never wanted to hurt you. I swear it. I could barely breathe. Fear, anger, heartbreak all twisted inside me at once. Judson turned toward us. We cannot stay here. They will try to force their way in. We need to leave right now, through the back door. My truck is parked far enough down the road. We can make it if we move fast. But my son grabbed my hand. Mama, wait. There is something I have to tell you before we go. Something important. Something I should have said months ago. Judson opened the back door and looked out carefully for movement, urging us to hurry. But Corinth held on tight, refusing to let go. Mama, the money I owed them, it was not for me. It was not gambling. It was not drugs. It was not anything like that. It was for someone else, someone you know, someone who used your name too. Who? Who else betrayed me? Who else used my trust? Who else put my life at risk? My voice shook. Corinth, who are you talking about? He looked into my eyes with fear and guilt. Mama, it was your wife. She started all of this. When my son said those words, it felt as if the air around me disappeared. It was your wife. She started all of this. For a moment, I did not speak. My mind could not understand what he meant. My wife, the woman I trusted. The woman I shared a home with. The woman I believed loved me. After Henry died, she brought light back into my life. She helped me move again, laugh again, hope again. How could she be part of something so dark? Judson grabbed my arm gently. Leona, we must move. We can talk while we walk. Those men are not going to wait politely at the front door. His voice pulled me back into reality. He was right. The Ridge boys were outside. They were watching. Every second we stayed in that house was dangerous. But my legs felt frozen. Betrayal is a heavy weight, heavier than fear. Corinth pulled my other hand. Mama, listen to me. We cannot stay here, please. Judson opened the back door carefully and scanned the yard. Only silence. The moon cast a pale glow across the grass. Come on, he said. Stay low, move quietly. We stepped outside. The air was cold and sharp. The kind of cold that bites your fingers even in early spring. My heart raced as we hurried across the yard, sticking close to the shadows. Judson led the way, Corinth behind me, constantly looking over his shoulder. When we reached the narrow path behind the row of houses, Judson motioned for us to keep moving. Talk as we walk, he whispered. Corinth swallowed hard and began to speak between breaths. Mama, your wife, she is the reason the Ridge boys knew about you. She used your name first, not me. She took out a small loan in your name about a year ago. I found out. She said she would fix it. She said she would pay it back and that you would never know. I stopped walking, stunned. Why, how? Corinth looked at me with guilt in his eyes. Mama, she told me she needed money for a business, but when I asked for details, she kept changing the story. Then I found out she was involved with people who have bad reputations. She borrowed more money from them. They started asking questions. They threatened her. She panicked and told them you had more money. She told them about the house being worth something. She put you in danger before I ever did. My head spun. My wife. My partner. The person I trusted with everything. Corinth continued. Mama, I only got involved because I was trying to protect you. I thought if I took the blame, if I borrowed more money from them, I could keep them away from you. I thought I could fix it before it touched you. But they wanted more. They always want more. My heart ached as I stared at my son. Why did you not tell me? He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. Because I knew you would defend her. You loved her. You always saw the good in people even when they showed you the bad. And I thought if you found out, it would break your heart. I wanted to shield you, even if it meant you hated me instead. Judson placed a hand on my shoulder. Leona, we need to keep moving. They might be searching the area. We continued walking along the narrow path, the trees rustling gently around us. I asked softly, Corinth, where is she now? Where is my wife? He hesitated. Mama, she ran. She left town 2 days ago. The Ridge boys were looking for her first, but she gave them your name before she disappeared. She left you to take the fall. She left me to clean up her mess. A stone formed in my throat. She left. She did not warn me. She did not protect me. She did not care what happened to me. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I held them back. Why would she do this? I whispered. Corinth looked down at the ground as we walked. Because she was desperate. She owed them more than any of us knew. And when desperate people feel the walls closing in, they turn on the closest person, even someone they claim to love. Judson led us through a clearing where his truck was hidden behind a cluster of tall bushes. He opened the back door and motioned for us to get inside. Hurry. We climbed in. My hands trembled as I pulled the seat belt across my chest. My mind was spinning so fast that I barely heard the engine start. As we pulled onto the small road behind my neighborhood, Judson said quietly, Leona, I did not want to tell you this, but I need to be honest. I have seen your wife around town, with people she should not be around. I suspected something, but I did not have proof. Now we know the truth. I stared out the window as my house disappeared behind the trees. That house held every memory of my life, every birthday, every Christmas, every photograph, every moment with Henry, every bit of who I was. And now it was a danger zone. Judson continued driving in silence for a moment. Then Corinth spoke again. Mama, there is more. Something else you need to know. I took a shaky breath. Tell me. Corinth whispered. She did not just run. She left something behind. Something the Ridge boys want. Something they think you have. Something they will not stop searching for. Judson glanced back at him sharply. What is it, Corinth? What are they looking for? Corinth swallowed hard. A document, something she stole from them, something worth a lot of money. She told them she hid it somewhere safe, and the last person they saw her with was you. My pulse quickened. Me? What would she have hidden with me? Why did she drag me into her mess? I whispered. What is this document? Corinth hesitated. Mama, it is something that could destroy them. Something that could destroy a lot of people. You have it, or they think you do. I shook my head fast. Corinth, I do not have anything. I do not know what you are talking about. But Corinth looked at me with the saddest eyes I had ever seen. Mama, she told them it was in your house. Judson gripped the steering wheel tightly. We need to find out what it is. We need to find it before they do, because if they think Leona has it. His voice trailed off. But we all knew what he meant. Judson drove through the dark country roads with the headlights carving narrow paths through the night. The truck hummed softly, but inside, the silence was heavy. I sat in the back seat, my hands clutching each other tight. Corinth sat beside me, staring down at his feet as if he was afraid to look at me. I was afraid too, but not of him, not anymore. I was afraid of the truth we were heading toward, the truth about my wife, the truth about the document the Ridge boys wanted, the truth about why my peaceful life had turned into a nightmare. Judson finally spoke. We cannot keep running. We need to stop somewhere safe, get answers, and make a plan. I nodded weakly. Judson drove us to his family farmhouse, a quiet place far outside town. A place with old wooden fences, tall trees, and a porch that creaked when you stepped on it. The kind of place that made you feel like the world outside could not reach you, not right away. When we stepped inside, the warmth from the fireplace greeted us. Judson closed the door behind us, locked it, and pulled the curtains shut. All right, he said, pulling up a chair. Tell us everything you know, Corinth, everything. Corinth rubbed his eyes and took a shaky breath. Mama, your wife did not start out bad. She really loved you. I believe that. But she got mixed up with the Ridge boys because she wanted quick money. She said she wanted to invest in a project. She wanted to feel important. She wanted people to see her as more than just someone who married into your stable life. He looked at me, guilt all over his face. She borrowed money from them, too much, and when she could not pay it back, they started using her to do favors, small at first, then bigger, then worse. Judson asked, And this document, what is it? Corinth nodded. She was working in an office for a man connected to the Ridge boys. She stole something that proved they were moving money illegally. She said it could send them to prison. She took it for protection. She told them that if anything happened to her, the document would be used against them. I felt my heart twist. Why would she drag me into this? Why give them my name? Corinth whispered, Because she trusted you. Because she believed if she hid it with you, they would never look there, and she never thought she would run. But when things got bad, she panicked and disappeared. Judson leaned forward. So the Ridge boys think Leona has it. Corinth nodded. Yes, they are sure of it, and they will not stop until they get it back. My knees weakened. But I do not have anything. I never saw a document. I never knew she was doing this. Corinth looked at me slowly. Mama, it might be in the house. She could have hidden it anywhere. Inside a book, inside a picture frame, under the floorboard. She told me she would put it somewhere you would never question. He paused. Like something sentimental, something old, something you never move. My eyes widened as a memory cut through me like lightning. The old cedar box. A small wooden box my wife gave me as a gift years ago. I kept it on my dresser. I never touched it, never opened it. I thought it was just a keepsake, just something pretty. My voice trembled. Judson, Corinth, I think I know where it is. Judson stood. Where? I swallowed hard. At the house, in the cedar box. If it is anywhere, it is there. Corinth's eyes widened with fear. Mama, we cannot go back there. The Ridge boys are probably watching the house right now. Judson paced the room for a moment, thinking. Then he said, We cannot leave that document in their hands. If they find it before we do, Leona's life is in real danger. We need a plan. I sat quietly for a moment, then something inside me shifted, a small flame, a strength I had not felt in a very long time. I lifted my head. I am going back, but I am not going alone, and I will not walk into my house like a scared old woman. I will walk in knowing exactly what I must do. Corinth shook his head. Mama, no, I will go, you stay here. I looked at him, and for the first time in a long time I felt like a mother again. Strong, clear, unshaken. No, Corinth, you have already carried too much danger. This time I walk with you. This time I finish what your wife started and what you tried to hide. Judson nodded with respect. We will all go, together, but we will do it carefully. We waited until dawn. The first light of the morning made the world feel less frightening, even though the danger was still there. Judson loaded his truck with a flashlight, gloves, and tools just in case. When we arrived near my house, we parked far down the road. The Ridge Boys' truck was gone. Only silence remained. Judson whispered, "Move quickly, stay close." We stepped through the side yard and entered the house through the back door. The living room felt cold and empty. The note from last night still sat on the table. "You need to talk." I moved straight to my bedroom. My heart pounded as I reached for the cedar box on the dresser. I lifted the lid slowly. Inside, under the folded tissue paper, was a thin envelope. My breath caught. Judson took it and opened it carefully. His eyes grew wide. "This is it. This is the document. Financial statements, illegal money transfers, names, addresses, everything. She stole this from them." Corinth whispered, "This could destroy the Ridge Boys." Judson nodded. "And this could protect Leona." Suddenly, headlights flashed through the window. A car pulled up. My stomach dropped. Judson whispered sharply, "We need to leave. Right now, out the back, go." We ran through the house again, but before we reached the back door, a loud knock slammed through the house. 3 sharp hits. The same knock as the night before. Judson froze. "Leona, get behind me." But something inside me changed. Fear drained out, replaced by something steady, something older, something powerful. I stepped forward. "No, I am done running." I walked to the door slowly, my heart calm, my hands steady. I opened it. Standing on the porch were 2 police officers. Not the Ridge Boys. The taller officer spoke. "Ma'am, we received a report this morning. Someone turned in evidence about a criminal group operating in this area. We were told you might be in danger. We need to get you somewhere safe." Judson stepped beside me. "Officer, we have the documents they are looking for." The officer nodded firmly. "Good, that is exactly what we need." Behind them, I saw 2 Ridge Boys being arrested on the street, hands behind their backs, heads down, their trucks surrounded. Years of fear, years of control, years of threats, all ending in the bright light of morning. Corinth fell against me, crying softly. "Mama, I am so sorry for everything." I held him close, tears falling down my cheeks. "I know, Corinth, I forgive you. We will rebuild together." Judson placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "It is over, Leona. You are safe now." I took a long breath, the kind of breath a woman takes after surviving a storm she never asked for. "My dear friend, life will break you in ways you never expect. Sometimes the people you love will disappoint you. Sometimes the battles will feel too heavy. Sometimes danger will come in quiet footsteps, but strength grows in silence. Courage grows in darkness, and victory comes to those who stand, even when their legs are shaking." I did not win out of anger. I won out of truth, out of calm, out of quiet strength. And now my story is yours. Thank you for walking with me. Please like this video, comment where you are watching from, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one. Your presence means everything. See you in the next video. Stay healthy and God will be with you.